Hello students, hope all of you are fine. So dear children, we had started our environment lesson, and in our previous section we have done up to the decomposition part. So today we will start the categories of the ecosystem. What are the various categories of the ecosystem, types of ecosystem we have? Okay, so basically what is ecosystem? We have already discussed, no, what is ecosystem. So ecosystem basically is the all interacting organism in an area together with non-living constituent of the environment. Okay, so ecosystem we can have the broad two categories. One is natural and another is the artificial. So natural ecosystem include grassland. Okay, so in grassland you can see the picture. Okay, and other example of the natural ecosystem is forest. Okay, so you can see the forest also. Okay, so now natural ecosystem, two major categories of natural ecosystem may be distinguished as terrestrial and aquatic. Okay, so we can have terrestrial ecosystem and the aquatic ecosystem. So terrestrial ecosystem include forest, grassland and deserts. Okay, in case of aquatic we can have the pond ecosystem. Okay, now artificial ecosystem or the man-made ecosystem. So natural ecosystem is converted into artificial ones due to human activities. For example, natural forests have been cut and the land is converted to tree plantation or agricultural system. For example, we have garden, crop fields, spacecrafts and aquariums. Okay, so you can see 10 different examples. Crop fields you can see, garden, terrarium, okay, greenhouse, then zoo, okay, aquarium we have, okay, then fish farm, dam and artificial wetland and zoos. These are some examples, okay, of the artificial ecosystem. All ecosystems are interconnected by flow of energy and transfer of material. Okay, with the neighboring ecosystem or even with the distant ecosystem. That means there is flow of energy from one ecosystem to another ecosystem. Let me give example. In grassland you can see crop field, you see the grass. So the greens or the grass which is grown in the crop land, that is consumed by the herbivores. Okay, that is primary consumers. Then these primary consumers, they are they, for example, it is goat, then goat or cow, then cow will produce milk. That milk will be consumed by the human being. So here you can see the transfer of energy is taking place from the crop field to the herbivore, and from herbivore it is going to the you can say carnivore, or you can say it is top carnivore or omnivore. Okay, similarly you can see in the pond or lake, okay, there are fishes. Okay, so fish, they feed on the grass. Okay, that is the phytoplanktons, okay, that are present in the water bodies. Then phytoplanktons, they feed on the zooplankton. They phytoplankton is eaten by the zooplanktons, that is small animals that are present in the water bodies. Okay, then these water body which contain the small animals, they are fed upon by the small fishes. Then small fishes, they are eaten by the larger fishes. Okay, and the large fish, they are eaten by either crane, birds or by human beings. So here you can see the food chain is there and the transfer of energy is taking place from one organism to the another organisms. Okay, so let's study about the food chain. Okay, now what is food chain? The process of eating and being eaten is called the food chain. Okay, various biotic level producers and different type of consumers are arranged at various level, showing interaction in the environment. Now the process of one organism eating the other and getting eaten by another organism form a chain. Okay, the chain of who eat whom in nature is called a food chain. Now you can see here grass is eaten by deer and deer is eaten by the lion. So here the food chain is formed. This is a simple food chain. Okay, this that you can see. Then you can also see another food chain. Okay, grass is eaten by the insect. Okay, insect is eaten by the frog is eaten by the bird. Okay, or you can have carrot, that is eaten by rabbit is eaten by fox is eaten by wolf, and wolf is eaten by the tiger. Okay, in pond, okay, in lake, phytoplanktons, I told you phytoplanktons are eaten by zooplanktons are eaten by insects. Okay, insects are eaten by crustaceans. Okay, then crustaceans, they are eaten by the small fishes, they are consumed by the large fishes. In this way the food chain is formed. Okay, so the flow of energy is also taking place in this case. Okay, now the food chain, as we see in isolation, it never exists in the nature. Okay, food chain always exists in the form of web. Okay, so I'll show you food web. Okay, so food web, it is the web or the interconnection of the food web, or the network of food chain is called the food web. Okay, you can see in the diagram that same plant, okay, plant can be eaten by rabbit also, it can be eaten by rat also, it can be eaten by bird also, it can be eaten by grasshopper also. So here you can see, okay, same producer can be eaten by various consumers. Now mice or rat, it can be eaten by hawk also, it can be eaten by snake also. Okay, similarly a bird can be eaten by the hawk also, small bird. Okay, grasshopper can be eaten by hawk directly also, or it can be eaten by frog, then frog can be eaten by the snake. So the interlinked or the network of the food chain is called the food web. Okay, so food web, okay, help it is a network of food chain between population in a community. Different food chains are often interconnected. Okay, a specific herbivore of one food chain may serve as food of carnivore of several other food chains. Such interconnected network like pattern form due to interlinked food chain in an ecosystem is called a food web. Okay, now we will discuss about the trophic labels. Okay, now before we discuss the energy flow, let's discuss about the trophic labels. I showed you the food chain. Okay, food chain you have seen. So when you see the food chain, okay, in food chain the transfer of the different organisms, they form a level. Okay, each organism form a level in a food chain. Okay, so have a look. First comes the producer, okay, that is grass. Then comes the insect, okay, then comes the frog, then bird. Okay, so these organisms, they are having a specific position in the food chain, and that particular position of an organism in a food chain is called its trophic level. So here you can see the grass is having the first trophic label. Okay, then comes the insect, third trophic label is of the frog, and fourth trophic label is of eagle. So here it is the producer, this is primary consumer, that is herbivore, then it is the secondary consumer, that is carnivore. Okay, and this is tertiary consumer or the top carnivore or large carnivore. So we can arrange this. Okay, we can arrange this food these organisms in a level which is called the trophic level. They have the position in the food chain. So here you can see grass. Okay, grass have the first trophic label, then insect it is having second trophic label, frog is having third trophic label, and bird is having the fourth trophic label. In this way, the organisms in a food chain can be arranged, okay, and they occupy a certain space. We cannot bring the bird at the bottom. Okay, we cannot keep the bird at first and keep the grass at the last. Okay, because we know the pattern of eating and being eaten is in one single chain, or it is in a particular sequence that cannot be changed. Okay, so here you can see the trophic label. Various trophic labels in the food chain can be represented diagrammatically. We can represent here producer, then they are the producer include the plants. Okay, then herbivores, that is second trophic label, that is the primary consumer. Okay, then secondary consumer and tertiary consumer. You can see, you can correlate this. Okay, here you are having the producer, herbivore, carnivore, top carnivore, and the same thing can be represented in the form of producer, primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumer. In exam you can be asked. Okay, for example, you are having the food chain. Okay, you will be given a food chain. Okay, for example, you are given this food chain. Okay, and you are asked what is the trophic label of the frog in a food chain in which we have the grass, insect, frog, and bird. So what is the trophic label? So trophic label of the frog is third. Okay, and if you are asked which of the organism, okay, which organism given in the food chain is the secondary consumer, or it is secondary, you can say tertiary consumer. So if you are asked tertiary consumer, don't go for the frog. Okay, see, consumer, this is producer, this is not consumer, this is primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumer. So tertiary consumer will be bird. Okay, and if you are asked which organism comes on the second trophic label, so first trophic label, second trophic label. Okay, so insect come in the second trophic label. Okay, so don't be confused. Now dear children, let's do transfer of energy in an ecosystem. Okay, so there is 10% law of flow of energy. Okay, so energy flow model, a simplified representation of energy flow through ecosystem. The sun is the main source of energy on the earth. About 1% of incident solar energy is utilized by the plant during photosynthesis. Okay, producers, plant convert, okay, the solar energy into the chemical energy of the food, and then it is passed on to the consumer and to decomposer back to the soil. This is in accordance with the law of conservation of the energy. Okay, so same food chain if we take, then you see that the energy, the energy flow is unidirectional. Okay, second next point is the flow of energy is always unidirectional. Okay, and there is the flow of energy decreases with the successive trophic level. That means the amount of energy do not increase from one trophic level to the another, instead it decreases. Okay, so the flow of energy is unidirectional. It flows from producer through the herbivores to the carnivores. It cannot be transferred in the reverse direction. We cannot think of transferring the energy from lion to the grass directly, or from lion to the deer directly. Okay, the flow of energy will take place from the producer, from plant to the deer, that is primary consumer, and to the secondary consumer and tertiary consumer respectively. Okay, or from the first trophic label to the second trophic label, second trophic label to the third trophic label. Now what is 10% law? Okay, 10% law of energy flow. Okay, the energy available at any trophic label in a food chain is 10% of the previous one. Okay, that means if let's take here only 1% of the solar radiation is absorbed and it is having 10 joule of the energy, then 10% of 10 joule will be transferred. There is only 1 joule will be transferred, and again 10% of 1, that is 0.1 joule of energy. That means only the 10% of the previous energy, okay, will be supplied to the organism. Okay, the bulk of energy is lost as heat. Part of energy of the producer is used for maintenance of their body, okay, through the respiration and for providing food to the herbivores. Thus energy actually used by the herbivore trophic level is only a small fraction of energy that is captured at the producer level. The remaining herbivore level energy is utilized by the carnivores. Again, only a small fraction, about 10% of the herbivore productivity is used to support carnivore productivity. Okay, similarly the energy available at the carnivore trophic level is again partition, leaving a small fraction to support the next trophic level to the top carnivore. Okay, so because of this tremendous loss of energy at successive higher trophic levels, the leftover energy is decreased to such an extent that no further trophic level can be supported. Okay, therefore the length of food chain in an ecosystem is generally limited to 3 or 4 trophic levels. So this question is generally asked, why the food chain has only 3 or 4 trophic level. So the reason is only 10% of the previous level is passed, so the amount of energy decreases from one trophic level to another, and if the food chain becomes longer, then the available energy for the next organism will be very less, or it will be negligible, which will not support the animal, and the animal have to eat more and more to obtain the energy or to meet the energy requirement. Okay, that's why the trophic labels, okay, the food chains are not long. Okay, the food chain do not have more than 4 or 3 or 4 trophic labels. Okay, and this is because if the number of trophic level will increase in a food chain, then the available energy will decrease. Okay, so here you can see, okay, the diagram. Solar energy or light that is consumed by the producer, okay, plants, okay, then the heat energy is given out, okay, only you say 1 or 2% of the solar radiation is absorbed, then these producers, they will be eaten by the herbivores, then herbivores will be eaten by the carnivores, carnivores will be eaten by the top carnivores. Then again what will happen, these top carnivores, they die, they will be decomposed, and the energy will come back to the decomposers. Okay, when they die, the energy, okay, or the body that is left over will be decomposed by the organisms that are called the decomposers. So they will decompose the organic matter, okay, and in that process they will obtain some energy. Okay, and again this will be the decomposed matter will be available for the producers. Okay, now we can say that there is subsequent loss of heat or energy from the organisms when the energy is passed from the producer to the consumers. In each successive trophic level, there is a reduction in the energy, okay, of the consumer. Okay, so we can say that only 10% of the energy is transferred, okay, and the very small amount of energy remain available for the next trophic level. And to prevent the loss of the energy, okay, to obtain maximum energy, the food chains are shorter and they have less number of the you can say have the less number of trophic levels. Okay.